Welcome back. Author, poet, playwright and librettist. Our next guest is best known for the unbridled success of Warhorse. But award-winning author Michael Morpurgo has written almost 130 books to date.
Oh, my goodness. Before we speak to Michael, let's take a quick clip from the movie Warhorse, which was adapted to the silver screen in 2011 by Steven Spielberg and, wait for this, has become the highest-grossing World War I movie of all time.
What is it?
It's a horse they found wandering about in no man's land.
What kind of an horse?
A miraculous kind of an horse, be my guess.
Now, Michael, I'm sure you've seen that 100,000 times, but
I was there when they shot that scene.
That scene, yeah.
It was wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, the poor horse was pretty heavy going for him running through all those explosions, but presume well trained.
Well, it had a rider on, which was all sort of been blocked out. But it was, it was an extraordinary evening.
Wonderful. That book, you wrote it back in 1980, published in 82. Not an instant success, not an instant bestseller.
It's very generous of you to say that. It was almost a disaster. It hardly sold at all. It failed to win any prizes. My wife always had a lot of faith in it. Claire always thought this was maybe my best book.
Yeah.
Which it isn't, incidentally, but she thought it was. But it just sat on, it was out to grass, I suppose, for 25 years. It never was out of print.
Yeah.
Until the National Theatre came along and said they wanted to make a play, which I thought was ridiculous. How can you make a play about a horse in the First World War? And then they had this remarkable success, which has gone on now. We're just about to have another tour, so it's going to be 10 years of Warhorse on the stage, and then Spielberg walks in one day and sees it, and we get the movie.
I suppose it would be fair to say that a lot of your success came in the later part of your life rather than the early part. It wasn't in your early to mid-20s that you sell.
Yeah, it's really sad, isn't it? I mean, all these wasted years.
Yes, you could be spending all that money.
Absolutely. And the book, of course, didn't sell. And then Spielberg makes a film, and it's in the bestseller list in London and New York, and suddenly everyone thinks, good Lord, this is a good book, and I'm thinking, 25 years it's been sitting.
I could use that money.
Years. Is
25
that the gap?
years, yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
but I really like the fact that you say, Michael, that you were there. So you're part of that whole process. I
tried to be as much as directors and producers and writers let me be. And he was very generous with his time. And so we could turn up and we'd talk to him and we'd tell him what we thought about this, that and the other. He paid attention. I'm not saying he followed everything we said, but he paid attention. And he's a wonderful storyteller. And the National Theatre as well. They were very, very good at collaborating on trying to make this extraordinary play. And there wouldn't have been the film had the play not been extraordinary. It's been this gradual growth of something.
The theme of World War I is one that is recurring in your books, and in the play that's on in Dunleary at the moment, Private Peaceful, it's in that as well. Is there a family history, or what draws you to that particular era?
Well, there's a family history, as there is everyone in these islands, really, of the First and the Second World War from different perspectives. We're all connected somehow to it, one way or another. And in my case, I'm a war baby of the Second World War. So I grew up as a little thing in the streets of London, and my first sight of war was of soldiers sitting on a street corner with one leg, with a little Jack Russell dog and a cap and some medals up. And you thought, well, why is that person there? And then you gradually found these things out. And then there was a photograph on the mantelpiece at home of my uncle who had been killed aged 21 in the RAF. And my mother always cried on his birthday and Armistice Day and all the rest of it. So there was a kind of connection there in terms of the legend of the war. And I played in bomb sites, and all the talk, really, amongst adults was of this trauma that they lived through. And little kids like us, we played war games, you know, and what we didn't want to be picked to be a German, basically.
Yes, that's right.
Because you're the ones who got killed in whatever game there was, you know, you had to win. So I grew up in that atmosphere. And then later on, much later on, of course, I read the great poetry of the First World War, Sassoon and Owen and people. And I got lucky. I moved to this little village in Devon to start up a project called Farms for City Children. That's right in the middle of Devon, and there's a little pub there. And we got to know people by going to the pub and the church. And one day I went to the pub and there was this old bloke sitting there, and I got chatting, and he'd been there to the First World War as a 17-year-old soldier. And he said, during our conversation, I was there with horses. And so I said, what do you mean? He said, well, cavalry, yeomanry. Didn't speak much, but just almost one-word responses. But enough, I found it very, very moving to think that this farm person from this little village had gone across there with a horse to fight an enemy, never met a German in his life, never been to Exeter, let alone to the foreign country, and then was plunged, as of course millions of them were from all sides, into this hideous, hideous war. And of course the horses went win. I mean, we lost on our side 1 million-ish men. The Germans lost well over 2, the French lost close on 2. We think between 10 and 15 million men died, and for every man that died, a horse died. They died the same way. It was the shelling, it was the machine guns, it was the barbed wire. The horror of it was suffered by them as well as us. They suffered it together. So I thought, tell a story of this war, not from a British side, or an Irish side, or an American side, or a French side, or tell it from a neutral observer's point of view. And because I'd had this meeting with this man, I thought, well, tell it through the eyes of a horse who goes from one side to the other. So that's all it was. It's not clever. It's just luck. He had a certain moment meeting people.
It's unique, though.
I didn't know at the time it was, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
And there's an honesty and an integrity to it as well, which is what is so compelling. Private Peaceful, the play that's going to be on, and we'll give where it's his story in the country. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time as well. Talk to us about the premise of that particular book, now a play.
Well, it came really, I suppose, from having written about the First War. I was invited to Ypres in Belgium with some other writers to talk about writing about war for young people, which is difficult. It needs to be done, but it needs to be done sensitively. And certainly in no way that is exciting, thought-provoking, not exciting. So that's what the conference is all about. And there's a wonderful museum there called In Flanders Field. And I went to this museum, and the last thing I saw as I came out was just a framed letter on the wall, typed letter, which said roughly, Dear Madam, I regret to inform you that your son, Private so-and-so, was shot at dawn for cowardice on such and such a day, 1916, signed Lieutenant so-and-so. Well, that just arrested my attention, but what really caught my heart, not just my attention, was that there was the envelope there with the address of this mother that this letter arrived on her doorstep in 1916. And the envelope was open so that you could see the rip in the envelope, and you knew that the moment that envelope was ripped, these people's lives were in
It was a hinge moment in their lives, yeah.
So I thought this needs to be looked into, and I found out that over 300 soldiers on our side were shot for either cowardice or desertion. 2 of them were shot because they fell asleep on duty. And when I looked into it even more, you found out that there was the proportion, for instance, of Irish soldiers in the British Army that were shot this way was higher than, if you like, for English and Scottish and Welsh. No, that's interesting. There was a lot. It wasn't justice, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah,
this was political.
Yeah.
It was to make the soldiers go over the top, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I thought, tell the story of one of these men.
Yeah.
Be a soldier, be 18 years old, and in a barn waiting for this dreadful thing to happen at dawn. So that's why I did it. And I tried to do it in a way which children could read as well. So it's about a young man who, sitting there, thinks through his life on the farm back home in Devon, his girlfriend and his family, and all about them. And then the training and coming to France and what's happened, so that you gradually come towards dawn through his life. And he's called Private Peaceful.
Yeah. Fabulous stuff, and your books are wonderful. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but one of the things I just want to say is I love how in your books you address these difficult themes. The books are written so children can read them. You address the difficult themes, but you don't always give a happy ending in your books, and that's kind of an important thing as well. Just to say, Michael, your play Private Peaceful is going to be on in the Pavilion Theatre now. Then it goes to the Everyman in Cork, Garter Lane in Waterford, the Civic Theatre in Tala, the Town Hall Theatre in Galway, Glore Theatre in Ennis, the Visual Arts Centre in Carlow, and Riverbank Arts Centre in Newbridge as well. So make sure you get to see that.
And then it goes to a great outpost of Ireland. It goes to America.
Yay!
Goes to the States. Fantastic. Young actor Shane O'Regan is involved as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you,
Lovely
Michael.
to be here.
Really
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Michael.
Thank you.